Bobby Roast Beef with another episode of Jigs and Friggin' Bigs. We got ourselves one hell of a show this week. Joe is not in the house. I repeat, who the fuck is Joe Brown is not in the house. I got a text from him about an hour ago, and he's saying, I got too much shit going on, Bobby. I'm not going to make it. But you know what? You know what we do have going on this week? We got the one and only Eli Self in the in the guest co-host seat this week, which is awesome. We're stoked to have him here. We have lots of stuff to talk about, folks. We had a follow-up question from last week's Live Well segment that we're going to touch on right when we get into the show after we go over our weekly reviews and everything. We have a bunch of stuff that's in the Live Well Fresh this week for you that you're not going to want to miss. Eli himself has a tip in the Just the Tip segment, and we have an FTG from the one and only Topless Timmy Jakes, guys. You know, it takes an awful lot to piss him off, and somebody managed to do it. Somebody out there managed to do it, guys. We will see you guys in about 30 seconds or so with more Jigs and Bigs goodness coming up right after this. It's good. We're here. We're live. Everything's happening. We got Jig Heads in the house. We got Todd Sefton. We got Vidal in the house. We've got Jay Manning in the house. We got a bunch of you guys in here, and we're glad to have you here. We also have a new guest co-host this week joining us, the one and only Eli Self. But, this isn't a voice that you haven't heard before. Eli has been heard every week since we started the Live Well segment, which is freaking awesome. How you doing, Eli? How's things?
Game, ready to walk out of the tunnel. I'm a little nervous, but excited.
Don't worry about it, man. In fact, you know what? You didn't fuck up. I just did. I muted that channel, and so go ahead. How are you, Eli? My bad, dude.
I'm good. Doing good.
That's awesome, man. I love this. Jay Manning says, he chimes in. He goes, "Just be your Eli Self." God, the zingers, they just write themselves. I love it. We got a good show this week, dude. We really, really do. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping, let everybody know what's going on. What the hell is Jigs and Bigs? Listen, Jigs and Bigs is your weekly podcast. We focus on giving you guys fishy-related, entertaining talk that you can check out each and every Tuesday. A brand new show drops you on your favorite podcast platforms. Yes, traditionally, this is very traditional in the sense that this is an audio-based platform, but we're available on YouTube as well. Each of these episodes, we break down a lot of different stuff, and we try to cater to anglers of all levels and kind of mix things up and keep things really, really interesting. We do have merch available at, if you really love the show and you want to represent things a little bit. In fact, we had a handful of people this week that went and picked up stickers and the car magnets this week. That's one of the items that I think people have often overlooked. Those magnets hold on for dear life. Like, I've had one on for well over a year now on my truck, and it's been no issues whatsoever. So it's been good stuff. We also have some opportunities to save you guys money on gear as well. Just go to jigsandbigs.com. We've got amazing partners that we work with. One of those partners being Dark Horse Tackle. And Dark Horse is actually kind of how Jigs and Bigs fam and Eli kind of came together, was through Dark Horse Tackle. By the way, I like the hat, Eli. Nice job. Nice. Product placement.
Thank you.
Zach, the check is in the mail. How let's talk a little bit about Dark Horse, Eli. When did you discover Dark Horse? Because you're a fairly new angler, aren't you?
Yeah, so I was in college, which, believe it or not, was not that long ago. Uh-huh. And I actually, so Dave, Zach, and I all got the same box. So it was a topwater box.
Yep.
And to be honest, I have no idea what the year was, but got that box, followed them for a while, and then being in college and having a job, what wasn't the easiest thing to pay for as an extra thing. Also, not fishing that much in college, so I had to take a break from it, and really just started posting stuff because I liked it. The box was awesome. It was fun to get new stuff, new techniques, and then as soon as I graduated, got a real job, got an adult job, I was like, okay, I think I can get back into it. And then, that from then on, I've been a part of it.
That's awesome, dude. And I mean, Dark Horse is like, I mean, the first instance that we've ever worked with Dark Horse, it was under the previous ownership before. And, even back then, I was like, wow, this is a really great concept. But I'll tell you, when Josh and Zach took over, they really, really did sort of fine tune things and make it work really good. In fact, we're going to talk about tuning later in the show in the live well. In fact, Eli knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's his phone call. But, when they took over, they really, really did mix things up significantly, and they really worked things the best way possible. And I think it's a well-oiled machine. I love the fact that they've incorporated the bait shop, so you can go and pick up your stuff right there. I had an instance today involving one of the baits I picked up in the bait shop that freaking blew me away. Why don't we do this? Why don't we go through our week? So I'm going to go through my week, because mine was probably the most dramatic. To be entirely honest with you guys, this week leading up to this week, I was supposed to be in New Jersey over the weekend. I was supposed to be out fishing with Chris and Brandon. That is Bandit Fishing and YP the God. These are northern Jersey guys. So we're not talking pork roll territory. Apparently, we're talking Taylor ham territory. And we were going to go to I think probably one of the most pressured spots in that area. It's a huge lake. And we're just like, yeah, we're going to send it. Now, what's interesting about this trio is that all three of us are pretty big into throwing downsized baits. Mainly a lot of bait finesse, but ultralight in a lot of different forms. And we had this plan for about a month and a half, 2 months maybe, of putting this together. We'd been planning, and this is what ultimately happened. So most of my week last week was like just kind of prepping things and getting stuff ahead for work and everything. So everything was good. And we get to Friday, right? Friday night, I head out to my last gig of the week before the trip. And my plan was to finish work on Friday, get home, get to sleep immediately, and be up and out the door, pulling out of my driveway at 3:30 a.m. And the reason is it's about a 3.5, 4 hour drive to the launch. And I was like, this way it'll get me there for about like 7:30. These guys can, sleep until whenever and then meet me, but I'll have the boat in place. We'll be ready to go. Well, I'm on my way back home, and I have an indicator on my truck that comes up low tire pressure. Now, the weather has been crazy this spring, like the temps swinging like significant amounts just overnight, and then during the day it gets crazy hot, and that's kind of wreaked a little bit of havoc on my spare tire. And that even has a pressure indicator. And so I assumed it was that. So I flipped the dial over to look and see what the pressure was. And it wasn't my spare tire. It was my front passenger side tire was down to like 16 PSI. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? I was losing my mind. So I immediately stop at the next gas station that I'm at. And I go and I'm looking at the tire. I'm trying to inspect the best I can. I got my headlamp and everything. I'm looking. I don't really see anything. I'm like, I'm going to fill it up and I'm going to just see what happens. And I get it back up to like, 34 PSI where it should be. And I go and I'm like, we're gonna check this out. So I immediately, anytime I do a trip like this at all, I set up a group text so that the correspondence is like a paper trail. You know what I mean? We have a conversation, things change, somebody has to refer to something. It's all in one place, makes things nice and easy. And I usually kick this off like the week of the trip. So I jump in there and I was like, guys, I got a feeling this isn't gonna happen. And I was basically going to go to bed that night. My plan was, because this is like classic Bobby roast beef thinking. I'm gonna get up that night, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna get up at 3:00. I'm gonna go and get everything ready, and then I'm gonna start the truck, and I want to see what the pressure's at then. And I was like, I'm gonna give a 2-pound difference. I took a picture. So I would know what the pressure was on all the tires, and then I would see it later. And as I was sitting at my table eating dinner and kind of thinking this over, and I was seething. I was pissed. I texted the guys and I was like, we got to pull the plug, guys. I was like, I got to be an adult about this. I got to be responsible. I have to go and get this looked at first thing. Immediately I'm thinking in my mind, I'm going to be on 95 with my boat and a flat. And I'm going to be changing a tire. like with my boat. And I don't know. It just doesn't really sit well with me. It's something I'd rather, especially being able to avoid it, I'd rather avoid it. So that's what I decided to do. I was like, I'm going to put a fork in the trip. Now, a lot of people have said to me, they're like, oh, why'd you cancel? You know, you just get down there. If we were doing 2 days, I 100% would have just left after I got the tire fixed, because the shop that I went to was the earliest I could find one that would open. It was 7 a.m. and I was there at 7 o'clock. They saw me they took my truck at 7:30 because they had a bunch of people that were already there, like in the bays. They took my truck at 7:30. I was there for like maybe 45 minutes. So that would pushed me back from when I was planning on leaving by a significant amount of time. 4 more hours down, at 8 o'clock, we're talking about now, we're looking at like a noon start. So now I'm fishing noon to maybe 7. And then I've got, I was going to stay over at Chris's house and leave that day. Again, I got to give a shout out to Chris's wife, because apparently I'm in the hot seat now for canceling. She was going crazy, like cleaning up the house, and I was just like,
doesn't she realize I'm a piece of shit? She doesn't need to impress me at all, ever.
But Madam Bandit is a real one. So big applause for her. I apologize that my absence was needed to be felt, but it was a mess. Absolute mess. So I'm, I told these guys, I was like, the thing is with Jersey, I can do this trip any available weekend, because the way it was lined up, I wasn't even taking time off of work. If I had canceled, now the issue was, I was like, well, maybe I'll just cancel trivia on Sunday night and I'll just, stay the full day on Sunday and drive home that night. And I was like, you know what though? I've already advertised it. It's been on the website. It's been on social media. It's the only outdoor event, and people specifically go to this place because it's an outdoor event that I do. I'm like, I just can't do it. I got to stick to it, So I made the call and I said, yeah, we're just going to have to do this. So we're going to circle back and try and do this in a few weeks and see what we can come up with. I may just say screw it and take the day in advance, and maybe we'll take that second day and just go snakehead fishing or something like that. Because I'll tell you, I do want to catch a bait finesse snakehead. I really do. I just think it's a baller move, So I had I had this truck full of gear and the boat was ready. The boat was like, Eli, the boat was pristine. It was sparkling. Like, it was ready. It was, I was Chris's wife essentially at that point, cleaning up all the stuff. That's what it was. So I'm like, I am not going fishing. And I just put, like, I would say I'm probably about 80% on the video that I was hoping to have a really nice travel vlog video and everything. And I put together a video, but I went out on Saturday and I hit it hard, man. I hit it hard. I went out and I went to my favorite body of water. This was after I left the tire shop. I got back to the house, and I still hadn't processed in my head like where I was going to go. And I was still pissed. You know what I mean? I was still pissed. So I come back home and I explain to my wife, I'm like, I'm not going. I was like, but you pretend I'm gone. Like, I'm not going to be here. And she's like, well, I got an errand I have to run. She's like, you want to go? She's like, we'll get coffee. I was like, all right, fine. I guess I'm here. So we go, we do all this stuff. And as we're going and running this errand, I'm like, I'm running through my mind of places I want to hit up. And there's a spot that I haven't fished much this year, and it's my favorite lake. And I'm like, yeah, it's about an hour drive from here. Screw it. I'm going to go for it. The problem with this lake is that there's a lot of rental properties that are on there, and a lot of, you'll get folks that are in there. A lot of these places will have a boat that's included with the rental. So you get a lot of like absolute noob wreck boaters out there. In fact, the caller for our FTG, Topless Timmy Jakes, he and I at one time had to like rescue another boat, like tow them in because they had no idea they ran out of fuel or something happened. I don't know what they did, but they broke something and we ended up bringing them back to their dock. And this day was no different than anything that I expected. In fact, I fished the one area, just could not buy a bite. Like, I fished thoroughly. I went through, hit every single dock, every single bit of structure, and I was just getting like absolutely nowhere with it. I then move out to this one other spot, and I saw the funniest shit, Eli. So there's a lot of bank traffic on one specific bank over here. There's like walking trails that go around, and there's little spots that you'll see every so often. The problem is some of these spots are actually like little picnic areas. So there's like a table. You don't know what people are necessarily doing there. There's a guy who and with this one specific spot, there's a point that comes out. It's real rocky. And as the rocks kind of fall and drop off, you get a real nice, lush weed bed. And this one body of water has a really active population of pike. So the bites that you get seem to be even more aggressive regardless of what you're catching. But like some of those pike are unbelievable. And I'm going over there and I'm throwing around, what was I throwing at this time? I think I was throwing like a finesse swim bait, like a 3-inch paddle tail, and I'm just making casts with dragging it across these weeds to see what I can hook up with. Nothing. And then I make a cast and I blow it up, backlash like an absolute rookie, and my bait goes into the weeds. I did not see this asshat having rods off of this point. I didn't see any of this gear, nothing at all. So this is fucking great. Unfortunately, my camera perspective got nothing of this other than me. That was it. But this guy, when I got my backlash cleared up and everything, I went to go bring my rod back. I apparently had hooked his line, and not knowing that it was even there, it was like, and I thought I had a bite. So I swing. I go and I'm reeling it up, and I can see, and I see him walking down and then grabbing the rod, and I'm like, motherfucker. And I'm too far away. Like, I don't know how heavy the weight was that he had on there to cast out as far as he was, but he was fucking far. And I'm like, dude, I got your line, and he could not hear me at all. Like, there's wake boats and shit going by. Like, as all this is going, I'm like a cork. Like, I'm just on the water. Like, this is ridiculous. This would have been a day. If I were in my kayak, I would have been like, let's go home. Done. Because it was insanity. And I'm there, and I see him. He goes and he gets his line. He can't hear me. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this easy. And I grab, right behind me, I have a little tool shelf with a pair of scissors. I grab the scissors and I just cut my braid. And I saw the most beautiful thing, Eli. This dumb fuck sets his hook into nothing and falls ass backwards. Unbelievable, man.
Oh, we love that.
It was magic. I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. So I go further down that same bank where the rocks are, and I'm following this. And I'm just looking to get a bite on this swim bait, and then I'm throwing something real finesse like a Ned rig, right? And I'm looking for rock piles. I've caught fish here before. Like, I know that they'll group up. I know there's deep water accesses. A lot of the shit that I would regularly be looking for. So I go over and I get to this one spot, and wouldn't you know it, like, I get on to a small rock bass that shook off as I went to go flip him into the boat. And then I caught a small smallmouth. And then shortly after that, I heard the thunder. So, you motherfucker. I heard the thunder. So I said, I'm gonna go right now. I'm not even gonna think about it. I'm not even gonna give like the opportunity for the giant clusterfuck that's going to be the ramp to happen. I'm just going. So I go, and as I go, I have a pontoon boat, a tandem kayak, and a wake boat all going the same way, just kind of like blocking me into this little cove. So I'm waiting behind them. I couldn't believe none of them went. They just continued to go up further past the ramp, further down the lake. I'm like, okay, whatever. I go, I tie off on the dock. I get out of there as soon as possible. Now it's starting to get to be chaos. Now it's about like 2 p.m. or so, and it's starting to be absolute chaos. And I'm like, I'm getting out of here. So I pull off a side street. Once I get onto the main road, I pull onto a side street. I sit there and I'm just looking at a map. I'm looking at a map. And I'm like, where can I go that's just, I'm looking for smallies. What's the plan? And there was a spot in Connecticut that I really like. I'm starting to like more and more. And it's a really unique sort of spot. And I don't know if it's regulated that there's like no jet skis or wake boats or anything like that, but I've never seen them there. And it doesn't make any sense because this has some really deep water. Like, there's no rock piles or anything. You're not running into anything, So it's like, I'm thinking this might be a spot where they are restricted, where it's fishing boats only. So I get to this one spot. I saw a dog almost get drowned by another dog at the launch. Like, I'm like, and I was under the impression that there were no dogs there because it's a drinking water supply. Nope. Again, they're allowed. They're fine. I almost brought my dog today. So I go out there and I'm like, it's gonna get dark around what I think like 8:30 or so. I go, I'm gonna set my alarm for 7:30. Then I'll head back to the launch and load up. So I had like 4 hours about, from the amount of time it took me to get there, and second cast, I backlashed like a piece of shit, right? So bad that as I'm casting one direction, the bait, like it hits so hard, the bait flies back behind me. I'm pulling out all this line. I get it, and I start reeling it back in. I have a fish on. Biggest smallmouth I caught that day, I guess. So I'm like, all right, this is cool. Now I'm playing around with these shade lines specifically here because we have these rocky banks, and now the sun is starting to get further past the horizon, and I've got this nice shade line that extends out a little bit. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to find one of the replacements for my confidence bait, so I was using a different plastic. And I know Zach and Josh are not going to want to hear this, but the mayor from Crush City fucking crushed it. Way, way, way tougher than a Kitech. Totally different action. But there was a color that I spotted, and I was like, we're going to go ahead and try this. We'll see how they are. And I'm a believer. So I go and I fish I'm like rapid fire. I have the wind behind me, so I've got the trolling motor up pretty good. And I'm down to my last hour. I've had a bunch of fish that have either missed it or they've been really small, just like all piss and vinegar. They get to the boat and they come off the hook. And I'm like, all right, so we'll keep going. And again, like when I get bit, I'm grabbing a finesse jig, a Ned rig, and I'm throwing into these rocks and trying to this is not getting touched at all. Like it might get a thump, but that's it. Like they're not committing to biting it. And I'm like, so it's the moving stuff. We're going to stick with it. So I just locked that one rod in my hand and I kept going and going and going. I ended up catching, I think 4 or 5 in total. Most of them pretty small. One of them was had a belly, like it swallowed like a racquetball. It was freaking obese, And, so we call it a night. I come home that night. I get to bed, and I was debating going out on Sunday. I opted not to, and I went out today instead. I decided I was going to stay home and just kind of handle some stuff around the house and go and do trivia. I did that. It was awesome. Come back around, and I get to I called an audible. I was like, do I want to go to that same spot with my dog and not drown her at the launch? Or do I want to instead just go and fish the Connecticut River? Because it's been a hot minute since I've gone there. So I go in and I'm like, you know what? I can drive less, and then I might be able. We had really good weather, really good weather today. We had really good cloud cover for most of the day. It was all pre-front. And we had pretty decent wind, better wind than we had on Saturday. Saturday, we had 3 or 4 miles an hour was the peak. I mean, it was dead calm. It was one of those few instances where I could spot lock and the boat would stay exactly in the position where I was the majority of the time. So I'm like, all right, this will work. We'll go out. And I head out and I'm throwing around some top water. Now, I had mentioned in a previous video, I had just re-upped on a prop style bait from Anthem. The top prop, right? There you go, Eli. You got one right there. I picked up the bone colored one. Which one you got there? Oh, he's got multiple.
The black and blue.
The black and blue. That's the other one I've got. Is that one, that black and blue? Yeah. It's awesome. But I wanted to get the bone one. Bone is a top water color that every time it's a home run. It's a confidence thing. It really is. So I picked that up. And I'm going and I'm fishing this one area. A lot of weeds in this area, but they're submerged. These are all submerged weeds. And I'm just covering water, chucking wind. Nothing. And I'm seeing some activity of fish hitting the surface. And I'm a little confused. I'm like, what is even going on? I make a change to a bladed jig. Right. I'm thinking maybe, this is it. Cause it's cloudy. It's windy. I'm like, this is speaking to me. Nothing. Wouldn't touch it. It's like, okay. I was like, I'm not ready to downsize just yet. Well, let's see what happens. Cause there's a lot of stuff to get snagged up on over here. So I throw in another one of Bobby Roastbeef's favorite baits and biggest confidence baits. a freaking swim jig with a big trailer, you know? And I start throwing this around, and I'm throwing it up into the wood, and I'm bringing it back and ripping it through grass and all kinds of stuff. Nothing. Like, you got to be kidding me. So I go and I fish this entire back section. And I mean, I know that there's fish there. They want nothing to do with what I'm throwing. So I'm like, what else can I do over here? I was like, let's try and finesse them a little bit more. You know, just get a little bit more subtle. And I have an A-Bay jerkbait, like a 90 size, and it's a floating jerkbait. Right. And I wanted to be able to work this kind of slow, like get it down there, a couple of twitches, have it come back to the surface. But I wanted to keep it out of the weeds, you know. It also doesn't have like the most obnoxious rattles. And we're going to be talking about that in a little bit. So it's kind of like a good middle ground. It's more subtle than like, for sure, it's more subtle than like a walking bait. Definitely more subtle than that plopper. But I'm like, anything? Nothing, dude, nothing. It's like, let's throw a wacky into some of this, this wood. And I'm like, nothing, just nothing. It's like, all right, I got to do it. Grab the bait finesse combos. And I start throwing around the mare. Now, this mare, it has a body shape that it's a little boxy in the body, but it has a slit in the belly. So it's actually a little bit lighter than I think a lot of people think, but it also allows for a lot of rigging options too. It fits the perfected ball head jig perfectly because the 3-inch has a little divot right in its nose. And when you screw that sucker on there, it's like seamless. It's perfect. But Bobby roast beef, because this water that I'm fishing too is like just dirty as shit. It's like yoo-hoo. But it's weird. It's yoo-hoo, but it's like the visibility is probably about 10, 12 inches. Like, it's not the worst. I'm throwing this bait, and I took, the band is back together. I got the appropriate spike it markers back in play. So this perch color that they have, it has like, it's almost like an emerald green back with like a real like chunky glitter flake in there. And it looks like, I said in the video, it looks kind of like disco-y, but the belly is like a pretty good like orange color. So I was just like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna accent a little bit of this orange here. I took my orange spike it marker right up by the throat, and then in the flaps of that slit that was in there, I take that marker and I color the inside orange, and then right on the tail I just put one little stripe of chartreuse. Second cast, I get hammered. Like, absolutely hammered. I don't know if it was just the size profile. I don't know what it was. I set the hook, and I break right off. I was like, what the fuck is going on? There's a lot of pike in this area. A lot of pike. And I'm like, you motherfuckers. All right. I mean, when I say I broke off, like, I felt the weight, and then it was just gone, you know? So I go, and I re-rig and everything. I throw back in there. Next cast, right? Not exact same spot. General direction. I get hit harder. And I've got this fish on. Same thing. Like, I could feel the tooth. You know what I mean? It's almost like I could feel it on the line. And it just, when it let go, I'm like, you motherfuckers. All right. So I start going over. This is where it gets to be where it almost was dangerous. So I have this really bad habit, Eli, of like when you're fishing, and I mean, even when you're in your kayak, if you take a bait off, do you like to leave them out to let them dry before you put them away?
Yeah. I usually put them in like a cup holder or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Exactly. So I have on my console on my boat, there's this little like area that's right in front of the windshield, and it's flat, which is very unique because not many consoles for boats. Lots of times they're rounded. So I'm like, when I cut off a jig or I change a bait or something like that, I'll leave it right there and I'll let it dry. And it works great. The thing is awesome. I love it. I put this top plop on this spot, and I'm like, I'm gonna go out to the main river. Like, two bites, that's a pattern. I'm sticking with this, but if the pike are that aggressive, I'm not going to just keep breaking off for the sake of breaking off. You know, I threw a couple of other things to see if I could get them to bite, but nothing. Like, they wanted that 3-inch. In fact, I even took that 3-inch bait. I put it on another jig head on a heavier combo, my moving bait combo, which is a 7-1 medium heavy, moderate fast. And it's got 12-pound line, which is significantly more substantial than what I'm throwing on my bait finesse stuff. So I'm like, at least this way, maybe it'll give me a little bit of a chance. I start throwing this around, they wouldn't do it. They just wouldn't do it. I also didn't have, like, that combo doesn't like to throw an 1/8 ounce. So this is a 1/4 ounce jig head. I was like, I don't know if maybe it's just a little bit too deep or something. Who knows? But I'm not going to just blow another jig head and another one of these plastics just because. So I go and I decide to take off. And as I'm getting up on plane, I see that top prop start sliding across, and it falls right in the water.
Thank God that was a top water.
Thank God it floated, because as soon as I saw it hit the water, I immediately came off the throttle, and I was like, what is this? So I loop around a couple of times till I can find it. I grab my net. I scoop it up. Holy shit. It took me probably about 20 minutes I wasted doing that. But I'm like, that's not a cheap bait. And it's the first day I threw that bone color. I'm not going to lose it. So I'm like, all right, let's go out there. So I head down to this one spot, and this is an area where there's a lot of rocks. It gets a little bit sketchy. Like if you're going to run your boat through, like it gets really shallow. And there's a little bit of a channel where there's some depth where you'll get boats that'll zip back and forth. Unfortunately, like right on the sides of that channel is where I have had some of the best bites ever, really. And so I'm trying to be as cautious as I can, get up on that shit, and I'm throwing them up. Yeah, Todd says, plus they're sold out at the moment. That was me. I bought the last one. So I'm like, all right, what am I going to do? What am I going to do here? So I get over there. I caught 2. Nothing to write home about, but that's what they wanted. They wanted that downsized, that 3-inch profile, bait fish profile. So I'm like, all right, this is pretty cool. And I'm out there. Everything's good. I'm like, I'm ready to put the work in. And then it starts raining. And I look over at Eleanor, and poor Eleanor. I'm like, I can't leave her. I can't leave her in the rain while I suck it up and fish. I was like, we'll call it. I'll come out again this week, whatever. It's no big deal. So we go, and we're on our way back up. We're zipping up, and out of nowhere, it was probably like, there's a little bit of a ride to the launch too, where I'm at. So we're on the way up. It's probably about like 5 minutes or so. And then the sun's out and it stops raining. And I was like, go up a little bit further. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll fish my way into the launch. Todd says she needs rain gear. Yeah, she does. She's going to get rain gear for this fall for sure. So I'm like, things are good. I'm going to go. I'm going to fish this one area. And it's a spot on the river that I've never, ever paid any kind of attention to. There's lots of rocks, lots of overhanging trees, which is a recipe for just absolute magic, in my opinion. So I get there, and I start working this bank. And again, like I have the wind, it's behind me. So I'm moving at a pretty good clip. I caught so many largemouth over there, so many dink largemouth, like small ones. And it was a little obnoxious. But the thing is, they were all uptight to the grass. Little tiny weed beds that were, because the water's crazy low. Like all the heavy weeds are all exposed. All the weeds that are out there, these tiny little weed beds right there that are just getting the sun and starting to come up. So I'm casting right into these things, bringing it back in here. I ended the day on a 15.5-inch largemouth. I'm not going to complain. After the weekend I've had of just dinks all over the place, I'm not going to complain. I was happy with that. It was a decent sized fish, put up a really good fight. Unfortunately, when it rained, I took all my cameras. Right, I put them all in dry bags and stowed them, and then I got up and I just got a clip or 2 on my phone. I don't even know what kind of video I'm going to have for this outing today. No idea. Who knows? This could be an absolute train wreck. So that was my weekend as far as fishy shit goes. Eli, what was your week like? Let's get caught up there.
Yeah, finished my not this past weekend, but the weekend before, my sister's wedding. So
that's right.
Super busy with that. And then this week didn't really get out, kind of cleaning up we've been gone. We went to Jackson Hole, which I was itching to fish there, but we never fished.
Oh, isn't that the worst feeling, dude?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We went there. We went to a Young Life camp with a bunch of junior high kids. And then, so essentially just unpacked and cleaned up, and then went camping with my dad east of Columbus this weekend.
Oh, nice.
and got to take the kayak out. So that was fun.
Sweet.
But took it out the first day for a couple hours, didn't catch a single thing. And at this point, to be honest, and this goes to the tip that I'm going to say in a little bit, but I'm like, from going pond hopping to a lake.
Yeah.
And this is really the first time that I told my dad this. I was like, this is the first time I fished a lake knowing what I know now, and knowing like, okay, water clarity, wind, I mean, just all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there going through it all. But yeah, so fished that day and then fished the next day for a little bit more time and caught one dink. That was it. But honestly, it was figuring out, okay, how to position, how to, what angles do I need to throw, all that stuff. I don't think he recommended that lake, but it was, I think Josh was talking about.
Oh, all right.
He had been to the lake and he's like, he said fish the dam part, which I did a little bit, but I was also a little sketched out because I'm paddling and it's a 15-foot fall if I fall. So.
Oh yeah, man. Was there no rope? There was no like barrier?
No, you go. I mean, there was buoys that said, "Hey, idiot, there's the dam.
You gonna die."
Yeah, but I mean, I was sitting there, and it was. I mean, the first day it was glass calm. I mean, it was so calm. Second day, I fished through the rain, probably an hour and a half.
Yep.
A little windy, but no, I mean, it wasn't blowing me around or anything that bad. To be honest, I mean, I'm just the boat paddle. That's it right now. And so the thing that moves me the most of the time is fishing a crankbait and just winding it in, and it pulls me toward the bank.
Oh yeah, yeah. What are you rocking for a kayak right now?
Shoalie, Crescent Shoalie.
Oh, you got a Shoalie. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I knew I wasn't. I'm a teacher, so last summer my goal was working on in jobs to buy. I bought the kayak. I bought the Bending Branches paddle.
Yep.
The NRS, the really nice life jacket.
Yep.
Boondock wheels, and then the Shoalie. I bought it all together.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Honestly, I always told my wife I'm a brand whore.
Nothing wrong with that, man. Join the club. Dude, we're all a little bit. You know what I mean?
So yeah, so put that out. Caught up one dink, but I mean, get out in the water, can't beat it. So
no, absolutely, dude. That's all. I mean, good for you, dude. That's freaking epic, man. You know, you got out there, you got to fuck around a little bit and you know get comfortable. This wasn't your first outing in the kayak, was it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, my first outing was with Brad Hicks in the Great Miami, and I was being an idiot. Well, Dave Urke goes, "Hey, test the limits of your kayak before you really like figure out like, okay, where can I get, like, how far can I kind of wiggle before it gives and all that." So we'll just claim that that's what I was trying to do.
Of course.
But I flipped it. I Brad's fishing and he looks back and I'm grabbing rods, grabbing boxes.
That's good stuff.
But yeah, that was the first time. So this is, honestly, I haven't taken it out much because I'm in Cincinnati, which is, I mean, there's not a ton around here, and then the rivers around here. For me personally, I'm like, okay, I got to go out with somebody and learn the river before
100%,
I send it by myself.
Yep. I cannot stress that enough. Like anytime you're dealing with current, having a buddy is super important, but you got the right boat for it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like if you want to, like, I'll be honest with you, like some of those really light, like river boats that are just super nimble on still water, you don't really, I mean, you might not necessarily see the benefits of, but you will when you're in the current, you know?
Yeah. And that's what I want. I was really stuck on the Bonafide SS 127 for a while.
Yep.
And then talking to Brad, Matt, and a couple other guys, of like, they're like, this is terrible on the river. In Cincinnati, most of the fishing is on the river. There's not a ton of lakes.
Yeah.
If there is lakes, it's super pressured. So it's like, so I was like, okay, I want a river kayak that can work for a lake, not a lake kayak that can barely work for a river.
Exactly. See, my kayak is terrible for rivers. Like it's terrible. I've got a native Titan 13.5. It's a barge. It's terrible for it. And it's like I think honestly I would if I was gonna do anything with the changing up my kayak, I'd get into an Osprey, inflatable. You know, no more trailer, none of that stuff. Inflatable, or right on top of the truck. Nice. Take everything apart, put it all together, done deal. Just do it that way. And that could very well happen, to be perfectly honest. It might be in the cards, but because what's that?
I saw Ryan Parker's, and he's got, so I don't know if he has it anymore. I think he sold it, but this is before I knew really who he was. And I watched him take everything out, put like the black pack on it and all this, and I'm going, oh my gosh, that's a blow up kayak.
Yeah,
it's wild.
It's crazy. But like I was talking with Jeff Little, and he's the one who sold me on it. He's like, he goes, you get into those inflatables. He's like, it's not the kind of thing that you inflate and deflate and inflate. And he's like, you inflate it once and then you maintain it. So like you're just topping it off and regulating pressure and everything else. He's like, and the benefit of it is that it is so light that you can put it on top of literally any vehicle. And I'm like, that's my biggest thing, right there. I probably mess around with that, but there's a lot of people too that have this idea. They're like, oh, that's a river kayak. Like you can't put it on a pond. No shit. Of course you can put it on a pond, but like what it's designed for, you're not necessarily going to see those features right away. You know what I mean? But I think you nailed it. Like that's probably one of the most important things is looking at like, where are you fishing? Like, what are you planning on fishing? With me, it's a lot of lakes and a lot of ponds, lots of stuff with ramps, because I know I'm also going to be trailering it.
So initially it was between the SS107, which is just a smaller version of the SS127.
Yep.
And it's a long story, but I won one on a giveaway, on a Facebook giveaway. Something happened, didn't get it. But that was the initial, and that got me into going, okay, this kayak thing's pretty sweet.
Yep. That's awesome though, man. Good for you. That's badass. Now let's dive into like some of your background with fishing. Like how'd you get started? Where how did we end up where we are now?
So it's actually funny. I have this picture right here. So it's when my grandpa retired, he was a teacher, 35-year teacher. And my grandpa retired. He had my grandma bought him a trailer on a lake pond. I don't know.
Yep.
It was that size that you call both. So I fished essentially my entire life. I have two sisters. And so it was, hey, go have fun with grandpa. And he had a John boat, a little motor on it. And we'd go around and fish and all this. And it was a ugly stick, pistol grip rod. Yep. 5.6 pistol grip rod with a ugly cast. So the ugly sticks version of a reel. Yep. Button. And I had that until I was a sophomore in college. And that was I asked this actually in Live Well, what was the bait that got you started? And it was the Kelly worm, pre-rigged 3-hook Kelly worm.
Oh yeah.
And fished nothing but that for pretty much until I was a sophomore.
There's a lot of people who get that start like with like one presentation. They're like, oh, they always eat it,
Yeah. Well, and then it was like, just like my dad fished, but he never went and tried to explore what, like anything else. It was always that. And then maybe a spinnerbait. Yep. Maybe a top water here and there, but really that. So that was really how I got into it. And then, I fished, loved to fish. Then I got quarantined my sophomore year of college. So I was sitting in my dorm room going, okay. And genuinely just like one day, like, okay, I don't know as much about bass fishing as I thought. And so just started sitting down, and that week that I was quarantined on top of doing schoolwork, I just started going, okay, let me do some research.
Yep.
And I have a binder that's like, it's probably an inch thick, full of just
Notes
of those notes. And I just
That's
wrote
awesome.
it down. I just everything I could find, Wired to Fish, Fluke Master. That's when I found Tackle Talk, and then Tackle Talk inevitably got me into Dark Horse.
Yep.
But that, I mean, it just, now it's like, it was helpful, but it's like, it's not all the right answer, but it got me into it. So got a bait caster, dove straight from from button to bait caster.
Yep.
So it was a lot of outings of cussing and cutting line out and spending a crap ton on line. And so got into that, and then bought a couple more rods, and I grew up pond hopping.
Yeah.
So golf course ponds, hoping people didn't kick me off.
Yeah.
Knowing golf course etiquette and going, hey, how you doing? And just quietly fishing as they're hitting the ball.
Keep an eye for like when they're, I don't want to get, crushed with the golf ball.
Or they're going, hey, where's my ball? I go, it's over there.
Yep. That helps too.
Yeah. And then fish neighborhood pond. I mean, I'm from central Indiana, which is all built around like retention ponds. Every neighborhood has a retention pond. So I grew up fishing those. There's a place by my parents it's not stocked, but it's a farm pond that the guy he doesn't touch. But for some reason, there's just massive bass in there. So snuck on there a few times, which is actually where I caught my PB. And then kept going out and just buying more stuff that turned into this.
Yep. That's how it is.
And then got into Dark Horse my sophomore year, and then did that for a while. Kept posting because I liked it. It was a cool box, learning new techniques and stuff like that.
For sure.
Took a break from that, and then got back into it when I graduated. And then it's been that ever since.
Just snowballed. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, that's awesome, dude. I mean, that's how it is. Like I can remember when I fished with my dad, that's how it was. We fished with night crawlers, or if we were getting real crazy, we'd use mealworms, and that was it. He had a tackle box that was one of these big, huge boxes with like 3 or 4 different shelves that would like telescope out. It was ridiculous. And I'm like, and all these lures, and he's like, yeah, they don't ever work. Like, I don't know why I ever bought those things, because they don't catch anything. And, that's just how we fished. And then I put it down for a while. And when I came back to it, I was out pretty much like fishing for like bullhead and catfish. I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. And then it was a box. It wasn't Dark Horse. This was a long time ago. This is 2013. So there was a box that I had subscribed to. I don't even know that they're around anymore. They're called Tackle Grab. Was the name of the box. It wasn't even like Mystery Tackle Box. It was Tackle Grab. Yeah. And it was just because I'm like, I don't know what to buy. I want to learn these techniques. And like, what was the first bait caster you bought?
I still have it. It's a
you do? That's awesome.
Loose carbon fiber. Carbon fiber. Well, that was the rod, and then the reel was just a loose speed spool.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
When I first got into this, like I wasn't working. I didn't have my own business up and running yet, functioning. Like I was doing this my background is in TV, working in television. Like you signing up for a life of poverty. So I found a used quantum bait caster. And I will say this to anybody. Don't buy your first bait casting gear used unless you know the person who personally is selling it to you, because you don't know what kind of maintenance that reel has seen. There could be parts missing, shit like that. And I'm convinced that there are parts missing from that. That reel never casted the right way. And eventually I was just like, I don't know what the hell's going on with this. I was like, and I was trying to avoid buying like a Black Max, cause I'm like, it's in my budget, but I'm like, is it decent? I mean, like, or is it just going to be more headaches? And I eventually just got frustrated. I was like, screw it. I'm just going to do it. And I was like, this is unbelievably better. Because all the fucking parts were there, you know? It was like you weren't have to mess with it. That's freaking bananas, dude.
I say some of those lower end reels, like, yes, they're good to get into it, but at the same time, I think they give you more headaches than they do help. Like,
it depends.
Jumping that. Yeah.
It depends. It's one of those things. I feel like if you're going to get into it, you got to be ready to put it down because it's like you're only going to grow with it so much. I still have like 3 Black Maxes that are over here that I have as like spares. If I'm like, oh yeah, something happens or whatever, I need to swap this out or something like that. Like they're like, although they've never been maintained, like I'm not maintaining a $30 reel. You know, it's like at the time. My other question for you is this: what's your like main confidence baits? Because I see your content on Instagram, and you cover a lot of bases. But what are the presentations that you are most confident with?
I would say anything Texas rigged is probably
can't go wrong. Yeah.
It's funny because I buy all this, and my PB's on a Texas rigged worm. It was a green pumpkin chartreuse.
Yep.
But yeah, Texas rig, almost anything. Square bills.
Yep.
Because I'm fishing ponds, it's shallow. It makes sense. Those are probably my 2 most, like if I am struggling, those are my 2 most confident.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've forced my hand of trying to like, jigs. But swim jig has now become a little bit more confident for me. In terms of like top water, a spook. I grew up working a spook.
Yep.
I don't throw it a ton anymore. I don't know why. I just don't.
Yeah.
But and then recently, actually, is a Nico rig.
A Nico rig, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all right, nice. Nice. It
was one of those that
Nico rig.
Yeah, it was one of those that I think Ryan Parker and I just started talking about it, and I was like, I'm gonna try it out. And I always like doing the exposed weight, just so you can tick the bottom a little bit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That exposed nail weight. But I caught a few fish on it, and I'm like, oh shoot, this works.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I think I'm too antsy to fish a wacky rig to actually let it fall.
And
so I'm like, I get it down.
It's so funny you say that because like I was recently, it was in the May? No, it was in the June slot limit tournament. I was fishing a body of water that had way more depth. And I'm like, obviously like wacky rigs are great for that type of tournament because you're looking to catch as many fish as you possibly can that fit a specific slot. So you're not really worried about getting the biggest fish in the lake. You just need them to bite. And there were a couple of spots that were like 30 foot deep. And I'm like, or there was a ledge that came off and just went down to like 30 foot. And I only happened to have the one, and I got lucky. It happened to work out. I take that back. I had a couple of them. Those core tackle, the wacky shot hooks. He's got them right there. What's the weight that you have on those? Are they 3/8?
1/8.
Oh, 1/8.
No, I have 1/8 and I have 1/28.
Oh, geez.
I don't know. I must have picked that one up. I've thrown them. I like them, but
they're great. Yeah. They are absolutely fantastic. But like a weighted wacky, it helps so much, especially in that deep water. And I caught like it's in the video from that. If you go and you look at it, I make one cast with this. I'm like, I just want to see because they're biting on so many different things. Like I was getting all my bites primarily with a juvie crawl, and just counting rocks on the bottom, and I was just getting hammered. I'm like, I'm going to throw this and just see what happens. Like first cast, I'm like, I'm going to give this cast. We'll see what happens. If I get bit, great. If not, we'll move to another spot. And I'm like, bang, 16.5-inch smallie. I'm like, okay, all right, this shit works. It's crazy. Like, and that has opened up my mind to like what you can really do with a wacky by throwing a little bit of weight in there. Also, sometimes you can take a nail weight and just bury it in the middle and it'll shimmy just that much more, But it is crazy. I always love talking confidence baits because you never know what people are really into, Yeah.
So I say it sounds like I'm promoting Dark Horse, which kind of am. But I mean, the boxes has got me into a lot more than I would have ever done, because it's like, okay, I'm sticking this in my hand. I catch a bait on it. Obviously, I'm gonna catch a fish on it. Yep. Obviously, I'm gonna throw it again.
Sure.
And before I was Texas rig. That was it. And then you start getting into a little bit other things, and like jigs recently. Like, I mean, I love just fishing the bottom.
Yeah.
Especially when you can. I think a lot of times around here in a lot of ponds, it's just muck, and so you can't. But I had to literally, I threw the, I think I was back home for the summer, and we have a gravel driveway. Yep. And I just cast it on the gravel, took a jig I didn't like, cast it on the gravel driveway, and just closed my eyes, and then just reeled it. Because every time I take a rock, I'd hook set.
Yeah.
And then I finally had to teach myself, that's a rock. Yeah. That's a piece of wood. That's not a fish.
You figure out
don't hook set
what it is that you're going over. Exactly. There's that saying, hook sets are free, and it's true, they are, but baits aren't. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. Dude, that is freaking awesome. Why don't we do this? Why don't we jump into our hot topic this week? And you're kind of involved with this hot topic. So there was a question last week that we had gone over from you, and we got a text on the hotline. Now, for those of you that are fans of Jigs and Bigs, and you're familiar with the hotline, and you know what the deal is, here's the deal. Or I should say, some of you are not aware of what the hotline is. You can call or text us at 413-324-8519. Go ahead and put that number in your contacts right there under Jigs and Bigs hotline, 413-324-8519, because this is a prime way for folks to be able to reach out and kind of have conversations with us like this one. So we got a text message. This was just last Tuesday from Jay from Southern New Hampshire. He goes, live well question for you. And I figured that this is actually a good spot to put it, is like a little precursor, because we have 3 questions in our live well this week. He goes, expanding on one of the answers given to Eli regarding obnoxious baits, rank the baits in order from the most obnoxious to the least obnoxious. And I think that's a great idea, a great conversation, to have, because I often forget and just, I guess I often take for granted that people can figure out like, well, this makes more vibration or more noise than this. So it would make sense that if I'm trying to go more subtle, this is what I would do. But when I got this question, I was driving, and I'm like, God, I don't want to forget this. Like, Jay hit me with, this is really good. So I used ChatGPT just to come up with a real basic list. And I was like, I just want it just so that I can have a paper trail of like knowing what to look for. I was like, let's see what happens. And actually what it kicked out is not terrible. It does not have all of the varieties or all of the nuance baits in there, but I think that's what we're going to talk about. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put that on screen so that our friends, our jig head friends, can see this. Let's take a look. So we're going to go top down, right? Now the graph looks like this. On the left-hand column, we have a variety of lures. On the middle column, we have the vibration level. Right. And then on the right hand column, we have the type of the category of bait that it is. So we have, and I'll be honest with you, for the most part, I'm probably going to ignore that column. We'll just go through the baits and the level of vibration. But we're going to start off with like the most obnoxious. And up at the top of the list, we've got chatterbait bladed jig, like 100%. And that thing is designed to vibrate, and even the name chatterbait is given that because it's intended when you're cranking it back in, it chatters like it's chattering your teeth. Like that's what that's supposed to be. It is violent. It is obnoxious. It is loud. There is, I forget who it was. I think it was just today. Somebody I saw on some type of a post somewhere put something about like, oh yeah, in the rain, I like a bladed jig. Yeah, there's a reason why it works. Like that is, it's so loud, it gets their attention. It's also really, really handy to use that stuff in like dirty water when there's no visibility, because if you're throwing in like mud, that's going to help get kind of direct the fish where to go. The next one, and that's got a vibration level of very high. The next one, and the only other one that's on the list that's very high, is a lipless crankbait. Lipless crankbait is vibrates like crazy. It's a rattle trap, you know. That's the nickname for it. It's a brand name, but it is the overall general nomenclature is the rattle trap. It is loud, it's obnoxious. Whether you're, burn pause, burn pause, burn it and kill it, or you're letting it sink to the bottom and you're ripping it up, stroking it like you would a jig. When that thing is moving, it is shaking like crazy. Next on the list, on the category of a high vibration level, is a spinnerbait with double Colorado blades. And this is part of the reason why I like this list, because it indicates the blade type. Like those style of blades, the Colorado blades, thump so much harder. It's something that folks really like to use at night a lot of the times. I know some folks that use Colorado blades exclusively, thinking like it's just a little bit more vibration. It might give them a little bit of an edge versus everything else. Next up under high vibration is a buzzbait. A buzzbait is super obnoxious. I think a buzzbait is one of the most obnoxious topwaters that you can throw as far as getting sound, and vibration. And here we run into a situation where they left something off. A prop style bait. And when I say a prop style bait, I'm talking about like a whopper plopper, a chopo, stuff like that. Equally as obnoxious. Are there different varieties? Yeah, you throw that Anthem top prop, it's a whole lot more obnoxious than if you throw like a standard, whopper plopper or a chopo, So that's one that was not listed on here. Next up, they have a wake bait, and they list that as high, as a high vibration level. I mean, a wake bait, it's true. It depends, I guess, on the wake bait that you're throwing. And that's the other part of this. There's nuance. So if I'm throwing like a big, or not even a huge rat, but if I'm throwing like like my sack pig traveler that is really silent, like with the tail, the only thing that makes any noise is the hooks as it's moving, but you move that generally pretty slowly, but it does cause vibration in the water. And especially when you start like throwing the bigger ones, like these fish with their lateral line, they're going to detect that, they're also going to see it and probably hear it too. If some of these 2-piece ones that I've got that clack like crazy. Next up, we got into the moderate vibration level. They've got a square bill crankbait. And also in moderate, they've got a spinnerbait with willow blades, a paddle tail swim bait as moderate, and a soft plastic craw as moderate as well. A lot of that has to do with those plastics just because of the action. And when they put like a swim bait, I think even within swim baits, like if you throw a fat impact Kitech and then you throw a big Joshie, you have two totally different types of movement. Two entirely different types of movement. And that's why like this list it's a great starting point, but you have to pay attention to the details of the baits that you're throwing. Then we get into like the low vibration level, and we've got a soft plastic worm. So, we're talking, I'm assuming that we're talking stick bait style, like Senkos and stuff. We're probably also talking like, maybe even like a curly tail, like a ribbon tail, something like that. That's pretty subtle overall. Curly tail grub could probably fit in that category as well. We've got a Ned rig, and that is, a Ned rig is tricky because especially now you can pick your poison with the type of plastic you want to throw. There are some Ned plastics that have a lot more action than others, and there are some that have literally zero action. And traditionally, those are the ones that I think most people are thinking of when they're throwing Neds. They're throwing those little TRDs, or they're throwing like, one of my favorite ones is the one from Arsenal that Dark Horse had put out recently. In fact, it's kind of become one of my favorite bait finesse bladed jig trailers, honestly. It's got that nice needle point tip at the very end, and it's just, it's chaos. I love it. A tube they have listed as low. And then this I thought was pretty interesting. They have a column, they have a section here that says very low vibration level. There's only one bait on there, and they put a jig with a compact trailer. And I think that is really important because I think that the jig on its own is an interesting presentation because if we're talking bass jigs, because of the skirt. And here's the thing, that skirt is an additional action. It's a secondary action. So earlier when I was talking about throwing that swim bait that I like that swim jig that I was flipping this jig into brush, right? I would fish it the way I would like a jig, dragging it over limbs and things like that. When it came out, I would swim it back and do the Alabama shake with it, and try and get that bite. The difference between throwing, obviously, there's the weed guard on that jig, and that was primarily one of the reasons why I was going there. But that skirt gives you a little secondary action. As you're shaking that rod, that skirt's gonna vibrate. I don't want to say vibrate, but there's gonna be motion there. It's gonna flex in the water and undulate a little bit. And that, with whatever trailer action you get, is kind of additional, and it can be the deal breaker in some instances versus throwing a paddle tail swim bait on a jig head or a Texas rig or something like that.
I also think that depends on the jig too.
I agree.
Because you talked about an arky head where you're flipping it.
Yep.
Then you go Texas, you're not Texas rig. You go football jig where you're taking it across the bottom. That's a whole different vibration and sound. Well,
it depends. That also depends too on the cover. Because if you throw an arky jig on a rocky bottom and a football jig on a rocky bottom, you're going to hear the same thing.
Yeah.
For the most part. But if you throw either one of them in wood, it's going to be, you're going to hear something entirely different. I think the biggest thing with the jig is I like to use the example of a chunk. A chunk trailer versus some type of a crawl, perfect example, dude. Perfect example. We're talking jigs. Finesse jigs are one of my favorite presentations. And I like to throw the Giltech finesse jigs. They're absolutely badass. I like to throw them in 1/8 and 3/16, and I like to put a couple of different trailers on them. I do like to throw a small a 2.5 or a 3-inch paddle tail sometimes and actually swim them, and I can get bit like that like crazy. One of my favorite trailers comes from Dark Horse, and it was in the pairing in the Creek box that was in, and it's the Riot Tantrum. And the Tantrum, it almost looks like a TRD style bait. It's a small cylindrical piece of plastic, and it has these two arms that come out, but the claws are so the edges of the claws scoop so much water that when they fall, especially on that 3/16 ounce, they kick on their way down like crazy. There's a lot of motion coming off of that little plastic. But another one of my favorite trailers to throw on that same jig is the Great Lakes Finesse Snack Craw. And the Snack Craw is more comparable to a chunk because those claws are pretty stationary. They even have little crimps in the arms to give them a little bit of action, but they don't move. They are pretty stationary. They're super realistic, and they also float, which is really nice. But they don't have that wild, chaotic kicking action that you get with some other plastics. So, you throw a bait like that, with a jig, sometimes it gets down to fall rate. And that action can help you with that fall rate. That skirt can help you with the fall rate. There's a whole lot of elements that come together. But one of the baits that wasn't listed in there that I was surprised at is jerk bait. We'll just say a suspending jerk bait. I feel like a jerk bait is probably, I would say honestly, moderate to, depending on the jerk bait, maybe even low vibration. because it's not constant like a square bill would be or anything like that. It's not constantly humming. Like even if you were to take a silent jerkbait and a silent square bill, like the vibration from that square bill is going to be much, much more severe than on a jerkbait. When you're twitching and pausing, you twitch and it moves, and then it's stationary. And then you twitch it again and it takes off. So lots of times what will happen is there's a theory out there where people will say to start with the most obnoxious presentation that you can think you can get away with and then work down. Because more times than not, it's not going to be that they need more noise, Like it's just, I guess it's just the flow of breaking things down. Like you're like, okay, so we're going to start throwing a bladed jig around, or there's all these signs are saying that nothing. Well, let's start with a Kitech, something with like a big, wide swinging kick of the tail, and then if we need to, we'll get a little bit more something that's got a little bit more body roll, and kind of figure it out from there. Like that, I like the HH Customs guppies for that reason, because they have a little bit tighter action overall. Like that tail doesn't go as wide as the Kitech, but it shimmies and rocks so nicely, especially on a sled head. This is terrible. There's a lot of people that are going to 100% think like how like Josh and Zach are hiding in the background over here, like holding us at gunpoint. It's like we just keep mentioning brands, but hey, they deserve it, man. They freaking deserve it. So I mean,
the other one that wasn't on there that I thought initially, and I know where this list is going. It's going like as you're reeling in, but it's a big old glide bait. Because thinking like initial water, like I always get weary of throwing that when water's clear or something like that, because that initial hit into the water is like looked like a bomb went off.
Oh yeah, 100%. But it's so weird, man. You talk to people who throw those baits like that all the time, and they'll tell you not to worry about that. In fact, there's one guy specifically that was just like, the trick is to cast way further than you think the fish are, so that way you can come back. And I like to throw a lot of those really big like wake baits, like the Mr. Tightline's Bruce Gillis. That's a huge 2-piece wake, and it's a solid wood. It's loud as hell when it hits the surface of the water. That is one of those baits. And even like the big rats, when I throw those, I'll throw them and I let them sit. And I basically let them sit until like all of the ripples kind of dissipate. And then once it's kind of calmed down, then I'll start working it back. But you're right. Like you throw a big glide, something really large, and that's going to start sinking. You got to start working it appropriately. I mean, shit, even like an 8-inch mag draft is a good size bait, and I think that you have to eliminate the idea of the cast. I think it's more of the action of the bait that this list is all about. I think you're right. I think it's more about the retrieval and how it works. Because you especially look at like some of the lowest stuff. You don't chuck and wind a tube generally. You generally don't chuck and wind a Ned rig, or even a soft plastic craw. You're generally like dragging them much slower along the bottom. Like I would even say like maybe like that soft plastic craw maybe could go under low vibration. Maybe, but I think that's the thing. I think that there's the one thing, Jay, that I think we need to kind of take into consideration here is that while there is a general sort of rule that applies, like more vibration, more obnoxious, less vibration, more quiet, like less obnoxious. I think that overall, the tiny details of like where these baits are going to fit in is going to depend more on your specific item that you're throwing. Like, what is that? Is that is that lipless crankbait is a one knocker more obnoxious than something full of BBs? Who knows? I think a lot of times that comes down to preference, and that is one
conversation.
Yeah.
The conversation that I had at the expo was a ball head versus a sled head on a paddle tail, and just what the difference is that. And it's like, so, I mean, ball head, you get a little bit more roll to it, and then a sled head, not as much. Yep. But even that's like, you get really specific into that and really into each of these categories.
It's so funny that you mentioned that too, because I have a ton of sled heads, and I generally lean toward a ball head jig for the most part. Just I'm old school, you know. But I recently put on. I broke off one day, and I was just like, okay, I need another jig head. So I went and I was going through my box, my terminal box, and I'm like, throw a sled head on here, and I grabbed one. And I think it was a big Joshy that I was throwing. And I was like, this really does change the way that this bait moves. So, like, keep that in the back of your mind, too. Like, if they're biting one way, like, and you've got the opportunity to either change out the plastic or change out the jig head or whatever it might be that gets them to bite, you know, or to react differently, like, you can technically show them something different right there. And it could be the same plastic. But just the way that the action works in the water could be enough to set them off. So I don't know. I hope all that kind of made sense for you guys, and we sort of answered the question. But that's a general sort of breakdown there. Like, there's definitely stuff on this list that is not the most accurate. You know, it's not. Or that they've left out, you know, maybe just out of just neglect. But it's just one of those things where you got to take into consideration. We also didn't mention, like, poppers, you know, and walking baits. So, like, let's look at topwater alone. So you got buzz baits, you got prop baits. Those are just chopping away at the water. They're knocking. They're making all kinds of crazy noise. But they're also retrieved much faster generally. You throw a popper, a floating jerk bait, and then you throw a walking bait in there that's just kind of like, there's so much. I never really understood how finessey you could use a walking bait. Like, there are times where I'll throw a walking bait and I'll just, like, hammer that thing. It's just bang, 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 and it's loud. I've got some that are full of BBs. They're super loud. They just make all kinds of noise. But my most effective ones are silent. I hate to say it, but the OGs are spooks, or the puppies, even better, you know? Yeah. And I'll throw those, and they're silent, with the exception of the hooks, you know? They're essentially silent. And you give a couple of clicks, and then you pause it, and then let it go a little bit further. It's unbelievable. Or with a popper, same thing. Like, there are some poppers that I have that lend themselves really well to walking. And it's kind of nice, you know? But it's just more about finding, like, that bait and where does it fit in the lineup compared to what you just threw, you know, and is it the right move? So, like, if they're not biting a buzz bait, I'm probably not going to throw a plopper, you know, or vice versa. But I might throw a popper. If I see things hitting the surface, I might throw something like that. And I'm sure as shit not throwing a frog on open water. Hell no, everybody knows that. I know you can. It just does not make sense.
I say that's the other thing too is depending on that skirt material, you got the skirt material with that frog, where you have a skirt, or
some you have
most
legs.
Recently you have ones that look like crawl legs.
Yep. Or blades. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
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 It's badass.
Yeah. And then if you want to go real throwback, you have the head and crazy crawler and start getting into those crawlers.
Yep. Oh my God, dude. The crawlers it's a whole other thing. Like, it's a slower, you know, burning a small crawler is one thing, but, like, if you're throwing, like, a big pompadour, like, they just chop like that. That's a loud bait. That is a loud bait. And there are some times where they're just going to want that 100%, you know?
Yeah.
But it's just like, I mean, fish have moods. I always wanted to assume that they're such simple creatures. There's no way, you know, but they do. They have moods. Sometimes they just want something a little bit different, you know? And it can be the tiniest thing that sets them off.
Say one of my favorite quotes that somebody said was, "Hey, bass don't read the same books we do."
That's true. I mean, technically, they don't read any.
That's true too.
That's true. Technically, they don't. Guys, we are. Oh no. We got something we got to do here. We got a headline. Yeah, even though Joe's not here, we got a headline. Are you ready for this, Eli? I'm going to play the intro music.
Yep.
All right, let's do it.
So this comes from Ohio. Had to represent Ohio. So I'll read the cheesy headline. This made me laugh. Lawmakers try to hook walleye as the official state fish after it got away last year. So there's 3 states that don't have a state fish: Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio. And reading this article, one thing that stuck out to me was, so there's a section, the economic impact of it. It says walleye generate $1 billion in economic activity for Ohio, and it's unmatched for any other fish. And it's so the fishing industry in Ohio, or fishing statewide, is a $5.5 billion industry, and walleye bring in $1 billion of that. So it goes on to talk about just trying to, like, some of the stats, talking about Lake Erie probably being the most prominent out of all of it, bringing in walleye. But I thought that was interesting, of, like, one, that they didn't have a state fish, and 2, that I didn't even think that was a bill or something that you could even pass.
It's wild to me because there are states that have 2 state fish. Tennessee has 2. That one of them is, I think one of them is a catfish, and is the other one a smallmouth? I forget. You know, I'm gonna look it up while we're going over this. There's states that have 2.
Yeah, I was about to say, don't they have a state record? But that would be Kentucky. That's Dale Hollow in Kentucky.
Yep, it is the smallmouth. It's the smallmouth bass and the channel cat. God, I feel like that's so perfect. And then John Hagen's says they don't want me to pick Ohio State fish. It'll be the drum. It'll be the drum. Or the buffalo. It could be the buffalo. Oh God, there's so many. There's so many. That's that number, $5 billion annually from fishing, and walleye fishing makes up essentially 20% of it.
Yeah.
God.
And it's funny because it sounds like it's all from Lake Erie. Like 90% of it's Lake Erie.
I'm sure. Well, that part of the country, just in general, like, it does not surprise me. You go, like, it's almost like walleye fishing is kind of like cultish. Like, there are people who are just crazy. I say that as somebody who gets put into the box of being a bass angler. Like, that is also cultish. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? But, like, there are people they dedicate their lives to walleye, to the point where, like, companies like Rapala have commercials about walleye fishing. And I'm like, who even are you? You know, it's crazy.
This is a crazy. It says walleye fishing supports 950 charter guides on Lake Erie.
That's crazy. That is crazy. Oh my God. Oh, Todd says, my dad used to go to the Maumee and said it's a cluster. I could believe it. You know, it's like the salmon run in Pulaski, New York. You know, it's just, it's an absolute shit show. It's like the Big E every fall here. New England's Great State Fair. It is a cluster. I can only imagine. So you think it's going to happen? You think they're going to be able to officially claim the walleye as a state fish?
I want to know what the benefit of that is. What's the benefit of a state tree?
There's probably not a benefit, but it keeps people employed. And government officials, they're just like, oh yeah, we got that state fish, remember? Yeah, vote for me next election.
Is that like showing a movie when you're a teacher? Like, hey, we don't want to do shit today. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about if the walleye should be a state fish or not.
John goes, honestly, I would say if they took it for an inland pick in Ohio, it would end up being the saw guy. I could see that. It's just crazy. And, like, you know what the state fish is in Massachusetts?
What is it?
It ain't freshwater.
Striper?
Cod.
Cod.
Yeah, it's the cod. Rhode Island has the striper. Year-round sawguy fishing is big here. See, and you know, John might be able to give some insight to this. Is walleye fishing and sauger fishing, are they essentially kind of like the same thing, or are these like two totally different like Hatfields and McCoys? Like, do the sauger folks or the sauger guys not get along with the walleye guys? I'm curious about that. That's the thing about fishing that I think blows my mind so much, is like the lines between different anglers. You know, because like you find that, like, I mean, I won't even get into like fly fishing, but like I'll find that there is like a significant separation. And then you end up with like weirdos like me that are like, I like catching trout, bass, pike, pickerel. I like catching snakehead. I like catching fish. You know what I mean? I don't really mind. Oh, he says, nope, it's the same group. Okay, that makes sense. Both fish are held at the same prestige. Look at that.
Prestige.
Oh,
so I'm in the southeast part of Ohio, so I get nothing of that. We get the crappy Ohio River, like it. And
you guys have Skyline Chili, and that's pretty much it. Yeah. Goddamn Cincinnati. Get your shit together. Well, I would say we're off to a great start, guys. We're going to take a short break. We're going to come back around, and we've got Adjust the Tip segment for you. We have an FTG from Topless Timmy Jakes, and then we're gonna come back around. We've got the live well rounding out our final segment. We have 3 questions in the live well that you are not going to want to miss out on, and I think one of those specifically is it might press some buttons. In fact, John Hagens, I think, is going to be like, oh, come the fuck on. You can already see it. Don't go too far, guys. We've got much more show coming up right after this.
And perhaps play a little game called Just the Tip. Just for a second, just to see how it feels. Or, ouch, ouch, you're on my hair.
Okay.
Alrighty, guys, we got our Just the Tip this week, and Eli today, just like probably about an hour or so before, he's like, I got everything all set. He's like, we got Just the Tip. I got one of those. So here you go, Eli. The stage is yours.
Yeah, so so this comes from this past weekend and kind of the couple trips I've taken with the kayak, and I meant this for kayak anglers, but honestly, it's for anybody. Going from pond fishing to kayak fishing, and I've talked to somebody else about this, but keep it simple.
Yeah.
I've heard somebody say, keep it simple, stupid.
Yep.
Go to your baits that you are confident in, because you're trying to learn. I mean, the first time I went kayak fishing, I paddled downstream thinking it was upstream. That's how little I knew about what the current was doing. Now, it was also glass calm, so got to give me a little.
Yeah. Oh,
little
yeah.
grace there. But like, throw baits that you're confident in, and pick, especially like, I think you look at some of those pros with live scope and all that. It's like, okay, they're finding spots because they can scan it and all this. Go to a point, fish a bait that you're confident in, and just keep it simple. And just start learning boat position, learning, okay, what side do I want to retrieve on? Even the boat itself, like, I went into buying a kayak going, I'm going to rig it this way. I'm going to have rod stagers. I'm going to have a motor. I'm going to have this. I'm going to have that. And then somebody was like, Eli, like, just fish out of it. Just figure out how you fish.
Yep.
If you net them, how you're going to net them, and then go from there. And I think that's what this weekend was. That's what my past couple of trips have been. Just like, okay, build confidence. I'm building confidence in, okay, I can position this boat the way I want it to be. I know if it's a big fish and I can't flip them, I can reach behind me, grab that net, drag them into it and all that. But it was just like, the whole weekend was just, keep it simple. Because I'm the person too that, like, I'll cut off. I'm like, I'll change a square bill that's like a 2-color difference.
Yeah.
If I don't just be like, hey, calm down. You're going to be you're fine.
Yeah.
And throw a bait that you know will catch them. And even if you're like, I'm not even confident in this, like, it's caught him before, just throw it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think I did 3 or 4 loops around the lake, and just picked one bait. And that's all I did was just fish that one bait. I fished the rock wall that was the dam.
Mm-hmm.
Then I fished docks, and I fished under trees and all that. But then I'd do the loop. Okay, got some bites. They didn't hit. Okay, let's try something else.
Yep.
But instead of being like, okay, I'm going to hit this spot and I'm going to throw 4 different things at it. And that's what I've gotten to learn, because I fished ponds growing up. So it's like you can walk around the entire pond. And if you're fishing it thoroughly, maybe 30 minutes. If you're not, 10, 5. So it's like, I'm learning a whole new, like, I mean, I fished out of boats. I fished out of John boats, but it was before I really was like, okay, the wind's this, the water color's this, the vibration, the sound of this, all this. I mean, when I was in the Boundary Waters, the first 2 days, I didn't catch a single thing. We were throwing belly worms. We were throwing, and then I found this Rapala crawl that I just threw the rest of the, and that's all because all I knew was that.
Yeah, exactly.
To now I'm like, I've almost gone back. I talked to Ryan Parker about this, and he's just like, keep it simple. Like I bought all this stuff. I've got all these things, but then I'm going back going, okay, like it's almost handicapping me a little bit in some aspects
it definitely can. Yeah.
I'm changing too much. And somebody said like, hey, you can't catch a fish if you don't have a hook in the water.
It's true. Yeah, you're 100% right, and I think that I've seen this with people that I know, friends of mine, that are like, oh yeah, I'm buying this kayak, and then they're like, it's almost like they don't like to fish. You know what I mean? It's like they want to build the kayak and do the rig. I've seen the same thing actually with like overlanding and truck camping and stuff, where people are like, oh yeah, I picked up this Jeep and I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this, and they do all this shit. They say the same thing in that circle. They're like, go fucking camping. You're going to find out if you actually need that giant fridge or if you can get by with a cooler for the weekend. Like, how do you function, you know? Yeah. And that's the thing, going out and saying like, and you nailed it. Like, you're like, how do I like to handle the fish? When I get a fish to the boat, what side am I naturally going to reach over? So where am I putting my net? Because that involves like, are you putting your electronics smack dab in the center of your boat? Do you have the real estate to do that? If you don't, then your alternative is to go to one side or the other. Well, which is the side that's like the dominant side where you're going to be like, I'm going to grab my net and then do such and such, you know?
Yeah. It's funny too, because like there was a guy that had everything. Like he had a power pole, he had the motor guide, front mount motor.
Yep.
He had, the dude had everything, and I just talked like a little kid going, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool!"
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, trial and error.
Yep.
He goes, "I've had this for 6 years, and just I've trial and errored things, and." He goes, I figure out that I like this, and then he's like, even balance, something you don't think about. It's like, okay, I can't remember what he had on this. Oh, he says power pole.
Yep.
He goes, I have my power pole on this, so I put my rod stagers over here.
Yeah.
And he's like, because
it offsets the
weight. I'm going,
yeah.
And especially for a boat, you can, obviously the weight is, you have a little bit more leniency, but like a kayak, and two, it's like, you don't want to be drilling into that kayak 5,000 times.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. You want to do things with a purpose. You know what I mean? And it's like this, like a lot of people, we use the saying a lot, especially like the younger folks are like, oh, this is so dialed. You know how you get things that are dialed? You don't think about them and say like, cool, this is all set. You use them and you evolve that to the point where it is truly dialed. So if it's your kayak and you're like, you're just like, first thing you said, you went out and you got your paddle, you got the kayak, you got a handful of different stuff. But like, let's say you went the full nine and you were like, I'm going electronics, I'm going batteries, I'm going this, I'm going that. Like, it's a nice idea to get all of that stuff together, but now you've got to put the puzzle together and have it make sense. And now you've got a bunch of moving pieces where it's like, it doesn't necessarily, keep it simple is 100% right.
The other thing too is like, okay, you're learning a new if you fish from a boat, great. Then you kind of know how to fish in terms of breaking down water. Because like even that, I really haven't had to do because I fish ponds most of the time. So
your access is totally different.
You can walk around so easily. So like even breaking down the water, it's like, okay, if I'm staring at a graph, trying to play a video game here, and then I'm also like trying to keep in position, and I just realized it's like, okay, keep it simple, figure out. And then the other thing too, it's like, okay, you talk about trial and error. Even my transport system, I mean, I've had to work on that, and I just now got it to where I like it because I had cam straps going around the kayak, and at first nothing on them, and it acts like a jigsaw, and they just vibrate, and it digs into the kayak.
Yep.
And it leaves like these god awful marks, and I'm like, gosh dang it. And then I went up this weekend and I put towels underneath them. So hopefully that would, and then I get there and I go to pull the towel up and it's stuck because it vibrated itself into the kayak.
Oh, okay.
And my wife's like, hey, you should text Crescent or like DM Crescent and go, is this a common issue? But then, and then we had pool noodles. We were floating in the water, just swimming in the water. And so I cut them and stuck those through the handles and also put the cam strap in it.
Yep.
And I think finally, because I ride with it on the top of my car.
Yep. Yeah.
And so I think finally, I have a solution because I've got some nasty just marks because it's dug in.
Oh yeah.
But even that was like, that took a second to figure out.
You got to be careful too. Like I'm glad you said cam straps because cam straps are the move. There is a lot of folks that when they get into their kayak for the first time, they're like, oh, I got to get ratchet straps. That is a good way to fuck up your hull, you know, because it's just too much. Yeah, I think you nailed it right there. That's a pretty sweet setup though. You know, I mean that boat, you know, set up the way that you've got right now, you take a year, play around a little bit, figure out what you want to do. You know, it's like I see folks all the time that go and they're like, oh yeah, I got this, you know, specific tackle organization tool or something. What is it? I forget. Yak Attack makes them. Not the black pack that goes in the back. They're the ones that the smaller boxes, and I think they're stackable.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I don't know what they're called.
I forget the name of. I mean, Yak Attack makes a bunch of stuff, and I even use Yak Attack stuff on my Lund. You know, just because it's awesome. I like the rod holders specifically, and I'm like, they have the Sport Track adapters, so done deal. But like, I'll see people, they'll buy this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but now that's yes, and they're great, but like they're in a weird kind of spot. You know, you're also gonna, you know, being a relatively new kayaker, you're gonna realize real soon the value in a bunch of well placed roto grips. They are great. You know, hold the paddle, hold your net, whatever you got to do. It's like, it's awesome. And it's like, that's the beauty about kayaks. It's because, like, you see people that rig out their boats like crazy. But I want to say, like, because you have so much space, lots of times you have other things to take into consideration. So like you have a fisherman on the back of the back casting deck. You don't have that issue to think of. And real estate is such a prime, is such a major factor with a kayak that like every decision that you make, you can't like just necessarily get by with. You know, you want to live with it a little bit and figure out like, okay, and maybe do something that's not so permanent. So that way you're like, okay, now I'm not, like, you nailed it, like putting holes in a kayak. That's a big one. People are like, oh yeah, put a motor on. It's great. It's great until it's not, you know, power poles and shit like that. And now kayak fishing is like, and I think it was it last week we were talking about like the items that came up in fishing that were game changers. And it was the first one I said. I was like, the fishing kayak, 100%. It lowered the barrier of entry to get off the bank for a lot of folks. But the amount of development that's gone into kayaks just in the last 5 years alone is crazy. To like now you've got kayaks that are designed with like plates that are installed so that you can screw in, you know, accessories that need to be. But then if you need a fresh start, you get a replacement plate and you're good to go. You know, It's very, very cool. That's pretty awesome, dude.
I say and then this is for anybody that is looking for a kayak, and I'm just passing information.
Yeah.
TFD, paddle are your two most important, and get a paddle. I'm biased, Bending Branches pro angler, but it's got to be light. One, it's got to be effective, and it can't bend very much. But if it's heavy, you're fighting that thing all day, and it's so. I'm a lot of times, if I need to make a micro adjustment, I'm one-handed with the paddle and just jamming it into the water really quick, just to turn myself. Because with being in a kayak, you're getting pulled every which direction. Those wakes are getting you. But even like throwing a square bill, I'm getting pulled, and so I just, when I get it back to the boat, stick it in, barely move it. That way, I'm not making a bunch of movement.
Oh yeah,
I'm just barely doing it. And then even this weekend, I learned it a lot. Was like, okay, you almost start farther out because you're going to get pulled in. And like those little things of like, okay, that's what I'm talking about. Keep it simple. Like, you don't know these things initially, and I'm definitely still learning.
Oh yeah. John Higgins goes, IX3 and a paddle when I get my life together and get the yak. That's the move. That's the move. Just is. It just friggin' is. That is awesome, dude. That's a good tip. Keep it simple. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. We're going to shift gears now and get ready. Topless Timmy Jakes up next.
Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy.
Alrighty. Let's listen in from Tim. We'll see what he has to say.
Bobby, Joe, Tim Jakes calling. Got a little FTG for you. Fishing one of my favorite local spots, Congamon Senior. Just having a nice day. Pitching, flipping the jig. Just kind of had that in my hands. Trying to force myself to fish the jig. Meeting a lot of nice people, talking to them. I come up to this one boat dock, and I see this woman standing up on the hillside on her deck, just looking at me. And I'm pitching a little jig to the corner of her dock with a canopy that's about, 8 feet out of the water. And I'm pitching the jig to the water, and she hollers down at me, "You better not rip it." So I said, "Excuse me? Rip what? I'm fishing in the water." I said, "Don't worry about it. I'm in the water." She goes, "Well, everybody's been ripping it." I said, "It looks brand new." I said, "Geez, you can't be nice to somebody and say, 'Hey, excuse me'?" So I proceeded to just spot lock there for the next half hour just to piss her off. But anyway, just wanted to say, fuck that gal. See ya.
I think I know the house he's talking about. That's the best part. Congamon Senior. Oh, that sucks. I'll tell you what, specifically that spot, you find a lot of, I remember I was fishing there with my dad last summer, and it was last August, and we go up to this one dock, and it was just loaded. Like, there were so many, there were nibblers and bluegill and stuff, and it was just loaded. And I was like, all right, cool, we'll catch a bunch. It'll be fun. This is great. And this degenerate had a sign tied on a float on the dock, like floating away from the dock, "No fishing this dock." And I said to my father, I was like, who does this son of a bitch think that they are? Honest to God, like, who do you think you are? Putting a sign up like, "Oh, you can't fish my dock." Fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that it sucks that some people cannot aim. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people, they make a cast and it's like, God help us all. You know what I mean? And like, everybody's been guilty of a rogue cast. We're like, shit, I didn't mean for that to land there or to land on top of their dock. But like, you do what you got to do to leave their property alone. Your intention is never to damage any kind of property. I don't think I've ever damaged anything. You know what I mean? But it's crazy. Todd says right here, he nails it. He goes, put out a sign, guarantees people are going to fish it 100%. It's just an invitation. But like,
I'm aiming for the sign. I'm bouncing. We're backboarding off the sign.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like a nice like tungsten jig. So it's like when it hits, it's like ding, and I'm like, man, it is crazy. There was, I think I know exactly the house that Tim's talking about too. And like, and he's right. Like the setup is probably brand new, but she's got a bug up her ass for one reason or another. And people that own real estate on lakes, like, I get it. That's your property. You're entitled to it, right? The lake is not your property. If there's public access there, it's game over. You know what I mean? If you are on a private body of water, then it's a little bit of another beast. Then you've got a leg to stand on. Todd says instead of bullet holes, it'll be jig dents. Oh yeah, big old 3/4 ounce jigs. Just dang. I was out this one time with my buddy Jimmy, and this is the first time he had ever been in my boat. And we go to this one spot, and I make this cast with these tiny, because I fish a lot of bait finesse, and I was throwing a tiny 3/32 ounce jig, tungsten, right? And it hits this guy's pontoon on his boat, like the backside, like the big circle. It's almost like I was trying to do a bank shot. You know what I mean? I was just like, bing. And the guy's out with like a hedge trimmer, and he's like plugging it in, getting ready, and he goes, "So did you hit the boat?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine, bud. It's fine. Calm down." It's like some Bennington pontoon boat. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just trying to squeeze into the gap, maybe shot a little bit too much to the right, and that was, now every time I make a cast near the dock and Jimmy's with me, he's like,
Did you hit the boat?
every time. It's like a thing now. It's ridiculous. Oh,
I say
goodness.
that's got to become a photo. You catch a fish right next to the sign.
Oh, yes.
I took a couple kids out, and
That's good.
and I think the two out of the three people that were there hooked one, and one of them, and they're probably freshmen in high school at the time, and they're going, "Eli, we gotta take a picture of the sign. We gotta take a picture of the sign." Yeah. And we're all holding them up next to the no fishing sign.
And I've seen that a bunch. People are like, "Oh yeah, when you see a sign that says no fishing, it's going to be a fire spot." And yeah, it is, because lots of time, the vast majority of people that fish are not going to go and fish that spot. So it only gets so much pressure. You know what I mean? You've got that in your corner a little bit. But like when I see that, I'm like, it's so weird, because I try so hard to not be that guy that's like, "Hey, everybody,
Go ahead and trespass. Do whatever the fuck you want. No, there's no rules. No rules. No, it's party time."
But at the same time, I'm like, there are instances where I'm like, when a property owner is just like oversteps, and I'm like, no, you need to shut the actual fuck up. Like, stop talking. Because I'm that guy that, like, if somebody gives me a hard time, I am so petty, I will call the cops. I will be the guy, and I'm going to be like, "Yeah, man, I'm here trying to fish, and I'm getting some harassment from a property owner. I'm not doing anything to their property. You want to just come by and handle this, because I don't want it to escalate." And I'm would gladly invite them to call the cops, but I know that they don't want to, because then, or maybe they should, and then get a little wake up call, But oh god,
So I'm not promoting fishing golf course ponds, but I grew up fishing this one spot.
Sure.
And got kicked. I fished there probably 20 times before I ever got kicked off, and it's this one house. I don't fish in front of it. I've never fished in front of it anymore. But there's been multiple times where I'm fishing in front of another house, and the guy's out in his yard doing yard work, and it's house, sidewalk, pond.
Yep.
And then the course is in the middle, and it's I usually fish next to a tee box. That way I know nobody's gonna hit me.
Okay, there you
unless
go.
they just suck.
That can happen.
But he's mowing the lawn. He stops for a second and goes, "Got anything?" And I go, "Yep, got one."
Oh, that's a good feeling.
And then I've done that with guys. There was a guy in a golf cart, and I'm just fishing a square bill, and he's looking, watching. He's like, "Got anything?" And as soon as he said it, hooks up.
That's the
And
best
I was
feeling.
like, "Yep." And there's been multiple times where that's happened, or the guys will stop and watch, and I'm like, "I have an extra rod. You want to fish for a second?"
I'm putting on a show over here, you know? I freaking love that, man. I freaking love that. If there's one thing I need to work on, it's teaching folks how to set the hook. That I think is the biggest one. John says, if your property line ends at the water line and you build a dock out on a public water, are you encroaching on state property? Could raise a new argument about property, docks, and water. That is quite possible. That is quite possible that you're trespassing on state property. I suppose it is. Technically, could the state put a no parking spot there? And if you tie your boat off, it's like, fuck you. But I mean, that's not even at the end of the day. What it gets down to is that sportsmen have laws that basically prevent or protect their rights to utilize this resource. And when you have a property owner that's giving somebody a hard time, like a lot of people are like, I don't want to call. I don't want to be the guy that calls the cops. I'm like, no, I will be. I'm that petty. You know, I will be. I don't. If we're gonna waste our day, let's fucking waste our day. You know, because I'll go fishing tomorrow. You'll probably be miserable the rest of your life. Oh man, let's go ahead. We're gonna take a short break. I do want to mention. I actually should have mentioned this in segment number 1. Next week's show is going to be very interesting. The day that this drops, this podcast. I'll be recording an interview with the owner of a company called Buddy Boy. And let me just say that I think Buddy Boy could possibly help you save a birch tree. OG Jigs and Bigs listeners will know exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, we're going to be talking about shitting in the woods. So that's coming up next week. Let's take a quick break, guys. Retool. We'll come back around. We got the live well to wrap things up with Eli in the house. Don't go too far.
Hi there. Welcome to the Live Well, where we crack open a ramp beer and attempt to answer all of your burning questions.
Alrighty, guys. It is the Live Well, and we are back here. The Live Well is our segment where we get to engage directly with listeners of the show. You guys call in and text the hotline and ask us questions. Kind of get our brains going, trying to figure out the best way to carry on this discussion. And we like to have a lot of fun with that. We're going to start with a very simple question that came from Zek. And this is going to be an interesting one. And Jigheads, pay attention, weigh in the comments, because I want to know what you guys think. Let's go ahead and do this. We'll listen to Zek right here.
All right, boys. Apocalypse now. Things are going down. Species are getting eliminated. You have to choose largemouth or smallmouth. Which one stays? Which one goes? I pick largemouth. They're always king, even though I love the smallies. Love you, boys.
This one's tough.
It's going to push some buttons right here.
It is. I have to say that smallmouth are a little bit more special, but and I only say that primarily because they're not everywhere. You know what I mean? Like they're a little bit more, I feel like they're a little bit more of a standout. They also I just feel like on the one hand, I want to say largemouth because they have the ability to get just absolutely enormous. And I do love big fish, but man, I'll tell you what, like a 4-pound smallie fights like a motherfucker. It fights unbelievably. So I probably have to go smallmouth. What do you say, Eli?
I said, it's funny that you said, kind of said both sides of this. Because initially I was thinking immediately I went smallmouth.
Mm-hmm.
Because they fight like no other.
Yeah.
I say even when you catch them, they're fighting in your hand. But part of me went wait, does that mean if they're not everywhere, does that mean it's just going to be loaded in those spots? People fishing just those spots. So then I went, okay,
maybe
do I want largemouth because there's more options? And so I'm playing a little devil's advocate here, but if it's just like the fish alone, smallmouth.
Yeah.
If I think it's, and to be honest, I haven't caught many smallmouth.
Oh, really?
No, I mean, my goal this year is to fish the river more.
Yep.
I say the first time I fished it, caught smallmouth was jumping in the river, and we swam to an island and caught one off an island. But yeah, I think just because they're not everywhere, smallmouth.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. John Hagens chimes in. He says, smallmouth stays. And then he adds this tidbit. He goes, I kept an aquarium with river fish in it when I was younger. I had 2 largemouth and 1 smallie in it. The smallie killed both largemouth and ate the bluegills. That is fucking magical right there. Yeah, smallmouth are just, they're amazing. Plus, I will say this too. I like a smallmouth that just has like a beautiful pattern is one of the most beautiful things in nature. Like when they have those and it sucks because that pattern usually comes out when they're stressed. But like, you'll be like, they're just gorgeous fish, man. They are just absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I like that.
If I was in the cold constantly, I'd be pissed too.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. Let's go ahead. We'll chime in now. Now, this is going to be weird. There's going to be like a 4th or 5th dimension opening, but this is a question from Eli, and he's going to get to answer it on the show.
Hey guys, that was a question for the live well. My dad and I are actually about to go camping this weekend, so you probably answer this after we've done camping, but it's okay. My wife and I bought a cheap pots and pans set for cooking over the open fire. We used them once and they're terrible. So what, you have any pots, pans, like kitchen equipment to use over an open fire, to set on like a grate? Do you have any recommendations for that? Yeah, thanks. Have a good day.
Oh, I got you. This is, you're asking the right guy for the right question.
I knew I was.
Cast iron.
It's heavy, but if you're driving to where you're camping, cast iron is your go-to. You need like a 10 or a 12-inch skillet, a Dutch oven, and if you can get away with it, like a griddle. Because then you could pop that sucker on on a grill or anything, and they're tougher than hell. I'm curious. The pots and pans that you got for the camping set are probably designed to be really light, right? And they got scorched. Yep. Yeah.
They're really light, and the handle had a plastic coating on it that just immediately melted.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever.
It's like some of that stuff is better suited to sit on like a small butane stove or something like that. Cast iron is just, you got to take a little bit of care of it, but at the same time, you can also beat the shit out of it. Like if you're willing to put the work in to restore it, like you can kind of give it some shit. It's nice because like that Dutch oven on its own. In fact, Lodge makes this one. It's like an all-in-one. It's like a Dutch oven, but the lid is the skillet that fits. So like you can use that pot and, fill it with oil and fry out of it if you want. Or you can be, there are people who like bake cakes and stuff in their Dutch ovens. It's crazy. I have a Dutch oven. I don't have like a traditional one with the type of lid that has the lip around the side so you can actually take the coals and put it on top, because that's the thing with a lot of this stuff, it's not the fire, it's not the light, not the flames that you want to be cooking on, it's the coals. You want to burn that fire down and then put the coals right on top or underneath. You get a good skillet though, yeah, it is you're good to go. Like 100%. I think that is the deal. And wooden utensils, like bamboo. Get some of that stuff. Oh shit! last time I fished with Binya, and I was like, yeah, man, I'm looking to save some money. I'm gonna make some food after we're done. He's like, okay, cool. And I didn't have any utensils. I stopped at a place. I was able to happen to find chopsticks, and I'm like, yeah, we'll go ahead, we'll do that. We've all been there. Jay says, I once turned my sleeping bag into a Dutch oven. I knew somebody was gonna go for that. And you know what?
I was waiting for that.
I'm glad it was you, Jay, 100%. But yeah, cast iron, like if you're backpacking, it's gonna suck. Like it's not good for that. But if you're just going out and like you can get some really, really small stuff, but it's heavy, it'll last. And you just gotta take a little bit of care of, and you'll be good to go.
So we went when I was younger, we went to it's really this is the only really big fishing trip I've been on, but it was the Boundary Waters. And we went with an outfitter that, you're camping in the middle of nowhere, but they load you up in food. Like you have, 5 foot cooler, 2 5-foot coolers of just, we had steaks on the open fire. We had burgers. We obviously had fish. But then I laughed when you said cast iron and then you say you beat the shit out of them because we had bears get into our campsite.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, you can beat the shit out of a bear too.
Yeah. Oh hell yeah. It is wild. I have I had one cast iron skillet when I lived in my apartment. We moved into this house and I bought a whole set of cast iron stuff, like all kinds of shit. And I realized that like I didn't need that much stuff. Cast iron, or if you want to go a little bit lighter, you can go carbon steel. Carbon steel is somewhat lighter. It's still tough as hell. And like you can get away with doing a lot, but like you get some cast iron and do yourself a favor too. Like when it gets hot, you got to be real careful. Get yourself some of those like handle covers. So like when you take it off the heat or something like that, you've got something to grab that is, will keep you from burning yourself. There is a video of Alex Perrick. I want to say it was like Lake of the Woods or something. They were doing this camp like for like a week or whatever. And he grabbed a cast iron skillet thinking it was cooled down and it was not. He got an awful burn. Like it's crazy. So like, yeah, you got to be careful with it, but it is badass. That's a great question. Yeah, you 100% nailed that one. Now let's dive into this one here. What do we got?
Hey guys, it's Eli again. Got a question for the live well. So currently have 2 buzzbaits zip tied to a fan, trying to tune them. Never done this before. So my question is, how do you guys feel about tuning buzzbaits? And is there any other bait that you immediately modify or you immediately do something like tune right out of the package? If so, what is it? How do you feel about buzzbaits? And then is there another bait that you tune right out of the package? Just my question. Have a great day. Bye.
So for buzzbaits, I don't generally tune buzzbaits. I've always kind of looked at it as like the best way to tune a buzzbait is to just use it. Because like they do over time, they develop like their own little personality, a little bit of squeak, something like that. So, I think that really like I don't really do too much out of the box. I will say one thing that I will tune periodically. And it's not immediately out of the box necessarily, but if I have to tune a crankbait, I will. So like if I have a crankbait that comes in a package and I'm making a retrieve and it's like moving one direction or another to the left or to the right, or it's not running true, I'll adjust that little metal loop that's in the bill most of the time, and I'll just give it a twist away, and it'll generally correct a little bit more, make it run a little bit more true. But that's pretty much about it. The only other kind of lure sometimes I will tweak right out of the box, believe it or not, is a jig. Because what I'll often do is I will modify it by spreading open the weed guard so it's fanned out a little bit. And then a lot of times, and I appreciate that they leave all the skirt material, because sometimes, depending on the trailer that I'm throwing, I want that extra skirt material. Other times, most times, I'm going to cut it back. And even in some cases, I'll even take and give it like a little finesse haircut. So I've got that, it looks like a finesse jig, like up at the top. It's just got that, because just to kind of like thin it out a little bit. Those are really like the only things that I'll necessarily tune. Is there anything else that you sort of pay attention to or tune?
I say that you bring up square bill. I had to learn a square bill. I had one that I got from one of the boxes a while ago, and I just used it so much that it started running diagonal from what it was supposed to be doing. And so then that a lot of just jacking it against a rock or something like that, trying to retune something like that. But no, I think the only one that I can think of is maybe a frog, cutting one leg shorter than the other.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and then occasionally a spinnerbait, and just and mainly after I fished it a little bit, because that wire, if it's not a strong enough wire, that wire gets bent out a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, nothing really honest. And jigs, I honestly don't. One, because I don't throw them nearly as much as I probably would like, but I don't mess with the jig initially. I haven't thrown them enough to know exactly.
There is another bait that I do tune in a weird way. Soft plastics. I do it all the time. I'm always trimming soft plastics to fit like a specific presentation. I might cut a little bit off. I might pull some appendages that are a little bit too much. But the major thing, the thing that I do often is I use spike it markers like it's my job. So like I'll throw like a color, and good example is I was throwing the Crush City Mare today and yesterday, or today and Saturday rather. And sometimes I'm a firm believer that like if you're getting bites on a bait, but you want more bites or better, more committed bites, a little bit of direction on focus for, to something that gives that fish something to focus on is going to help quite a bit, So like putting a little bit of orange, red right up at the throat to kind of like draw their eye into where that hook is, can be very helpful. Sometimes, I'll use chartreuse on pretty much everything but gin clear water. Like if there's the slightest amount of stain, I'm going to throw a little bit of chartreuse on there most times if I'm throwing some kind of a swim bait or something. Of course, like I'm also often like imitating perch and bluegill as the primary forage for where I am. We don't really have shad here, except in the Connecticut River when they go up and die and stink.
At Bobby Recipe's elementary school art class.
That's pretty much what it is. Before Bill Cosby got canceled, he used to do this thing on Nickelodeon. And you're way too young for this, Eli, but it used to be called Picture Pages. And he had this. I say it was a character, but it was just the marker. And he called it his Mortimer Ichabod marker. And it made this sound every time you would draw with it. Like it did, and it was all added in post, TV magic kind of shit. But there was a song, and I remember this one day I was fishing. I was with Sean the Fisherman, and we were fishing the place that I fished on Saturday. And I'm throwing, I think I was throwing like a Kitech, and I was like, rigging one up, like I think I got a bite and it bit the tail off my plastic or something like that. So I had to re-rig, and I'm rigging, and I got my markers, and I'm singing the song, and Sean goes like,
"The fuck are you singing?"
He remembered eventually after I jogged his memory a little bit. John says, he goes, "I know live bait isn't typically thought of mixing artificial, but if saw guy and sauger are tight lipping and short striking, I'll use twister tails on a ball head jig." Okay, I could definitely see that. It's funny. I was throwing a little curly tail grub on a ball head jig earlier this week. It says, but I pull the tail off and leave the body on the jig and tip with a minnow instead, and it tends to get them going. I could see that happening. I could 100% see that. Yeah, I love, it gets down to that, like show them something different, And I know, like, I remember there was, I think it was either here or it might have been up at Columbus, Zek was like, you and Josh with those fucking markers. He's like, just leave the baits alone. Let them do the job they're supposed to do. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine, but I'm like, this is kind of a nice way to kind of say like, no, bite it here. Bite it right here.
So you get in conversation with Ryan Parker about some of the things he does. Like one of them that I thought was nuts. I mean, it makes sense, but I thought it was nuts. Takes a tube and then in the like, I know people put like Alka-Seltzer tablets. They used to put Alka-Seltzer tablets in them to make them bubble.
Oh yeah.
But he takes a earplug and sticks it in there. So on beds it will sit up. So it will hit that bottom of that bed and then rise up.
Really?
I haven't tried it, but he's like, so it works a lot of times.
Huh. An earplug? Like the foam ones?
Yeah.
No shit. Huh. That is
that. Yeah, he you get in conversations with him. He's got a bunch of like things that he's just tried and messed with and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
I told him I'm still at the point where I'm like Zach though, except for I'm not doing it like leave the baits alone. I'm just like, I don't know really how to fish this yet. Let me just try it how it is.
That's exactly it. Like sometimes you just got to. John Hagen's comments, he goes, hell, In Fisherman taught us to modify our baits in all of their shows. Weighted stickers on Rapalas was one that I remember. That's a big one because you can take a bait that like, and sometimes that happens. Like there are people who modify baits out of the package all the time. I didn't even think about this and I don't necessarily do it, but there are people who are like, they buy a hard bait and they're like, no, these hooks. And I mean, I get it. They're like, these are the hooks. These are the ones. I like the triple grips. I like the this. I like the that, whatever it is. And people will just change out their hooks right away. And I mean, I guess that qualifies for tuning too. But what's interesting is if you're one of those folks and you buy a suspending jerkbait and you're like, yeah, these are the hooks that I use. Maybe those hooks aren't exactly ideal for that jerkbait. And now that's a slow sink. Or maybe they're lighter than what was intended. And that is now a little bit more of a floating jerkbait now. That tape, that weighted sticker that John's talking about comes in really handy. You put that right on the belly, and you can take something that was a floater and
yeah.
You can take something that was a floater and make it suspend a little bit better. Todd says Parker does have some good
I've
tips.
seen people do that same thing, but put it at the front of that jerkbait.
Yep.
And again,
Causes
same thing
the
with the plug. It will nose up.
Yeah.
Or nose down. It will nose down.
Yeah. 100%. Dude, it is wild. Jerkbaits are nuts too, because there's like, I think I need to take and divide my jerk baits up, because right now I have like all my hard baits in like one box. I don't throw a lot of hard baits. I really don't. I try to throw mainly soft baits just because like I have a lot more clear water up here. I'm not really throwing stuff and I very rarely throw any kind of like deep diving cranks or anything like that. A couple of liplesses here and there. Like that's really my bread and butter when it comes to crankbaits are lipless. Like it's just, I don't know. I guess it's just a confidence thing, but freaking bananas, dude. Freaking bananas. What a good show. Eli, excellent job, dude. You freaking knocked it out of the park tonight. Good job. Adjust the tip. We got a headline out of you. Like, it's awesome. And then we're going to start a campaign to get Ohio to get their shit together. And number one, yes, go ahead. Give them the walleye. Give them the walleye. I'm sure there are plenty of other states. You know what? I'm Googling it. I got to know. How many states walleye is the state fish of what state? Let's see what we got. It's Minnesota. Okay. But I know that there are other states that where they double up. Like I think Largemouth is in a few. Bluegill might be in a few, like stuff like that. So let them have it. But we want full disclosure. What's it doing for the state? You know what I mean? Like, what is it doing? Eli needs answers, and he needs them now, goddammit. This is really good. You got anything you want to wrap up with before we call this sucker?
No, I got I got nothing.
Awesome, dude. Well, hey, do everybody a favor. Give a shout out. If folks want to catch up with you, ask you some questions, want to follow you on social media, anything like that, let them know where they can find you.
Instagram is probably the best place. I have a TikTok, but I don't mess with it.
I hear you.
At _Eli_Self. Is the best way you can find me.
That's the way to do it, man. You heard it. You heard it here. John Hagen's asked a question real quick before we get into anything. He asks, he says, Bobby, what is that stud hashtag you mentioned? We have a high water, and I'm going to go after some other fish tomorrow, and possible studs may be involved. So here's what I'm doing, guys. Tag your catches. This is an Instagram contest right now. We're waiting until we get at least 12 entries. Depending on how soon we get them, we may wait to put some more in there. Go ahead and tag Jigs and Bigs, tag American Vet Fishing, and then use the hashtag JB Certified Stud. And if you go and you look at that tag, like I've got a couple of pictures in there. We got one absolute stud right here. That's the one and only. That's the Canadian koala right there with an absolute tank smallmouth. And then just to be fun, I took this picture while I was out and I put JB Certified Stud for my buddy Jimmy. I figured I'd enter him in there too with this little guy, this little junior. So, yeah, go ahead and use that hashtag, tag American Vet Fishing, tag Jigs and Bigs, and this way we can find it. And after we do the giveaway, and we're going to kind of put together a nice little package of stuff for the winner. It's going to involve some Jigs and Bigs merch. It's going to involve some gear. It's going to involve some, maybe, depending on who wins it could involve some fish whistle accoutrements. But tag us so that we can track this stuff down, and we'll figure it all out and make it happen. And then we're going to do one probably on Facebook. Same idea. You go ahead. So if you're out fishing, it doesn't even necessarily have to be like a current fish. It doesn't even have to be a bass. To be honest with you, it could be anything. Gar, buffalo, carping in the morning. Beautiful, man. Go for it. Go for it. Because we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna select the ones that we like. We're gonna put them on a wheel, and then we're gonna give some shit away. That's the plan. Guys, I need to make some dinner, and I need to edit this show to get it ready because I have one hell of a week lined up. Thank you, guys. One thing before we wrap up. I believe it's the 26th is the slot limit tournament for July. Go ahead and get entered. We're at the 14th right now. You have just under 2 weeks to go ahead and register and get set up. You will need a catch board in order to enter any of your fish and have them count. So there's time. This is the time right now. Go ahead, get that board, get that all set up, and we'll make things happen. For the one and only Eli Self, I am Bobby Roast Beef, and you've been listening to Jigs and Friggin' Bigs. We will see you guys in 7 days of more fishy content. Make sure to tag us in your pics and add hashtag JB Certified Stud. We'll see you guys next time. Have yourselves a good one, and like we always say,
Tits and ass, smoke some grass.